For the next question. Here's question number 7. Okay. So this question is asking, find the constant term of a binomial expansion. So let's look at the process that the junior tutor went through. So the expansion of a binomial x plus y to the power of n. So is as follows. So this is the variable format for any x, y values to the power of n. You have the constant times x to the power of n, and then all the terms associated in the middle until you get to the last point. So here they're asking for the constant term of binomial expansion. So here this is the constant in front of the x variable. We're looking at the final number. So what is the final constant if y was a value? So this is kind of just a definition of the expansion of binomial. So here x and y is our variable, n is a natural number, so nck shows the combination of n things taking k at a time, nck, x to the power of n minus k, y to the k. So this is just a general kind of definition of what expansion of a binomial is. So let's look at some cases here. Case. So if y is equal to c, we end up with the last term being a constant, and that's what we're trying to solve for according to the question. And so we can see that the constant term here is an NCN. And then here, if we have a ratio, there is no constant term. So if we have y equals to c over x, there's no constant term. And then I believe one more example is given. So how now to find the constant term, equate the exponent. So here in the case there's no constant term at the extremities of the binomial. So actually there's no constant term at the end. So there's no constant term at the last variable and there's no constant at the beginning. But there's a constant term in the middle. And this can be found if we equate n minus 2k to 0. So if we equate this, we'll get that k equals n divided by 2. So the constant term is in the middle term. So in this situation, the constant term of this binomial expansion will be in the middle. That's how we find the constant term. Let's look at a simple example here. So x plus 4 to the power of 12. So before we go through that, let's look at case 3. So if we have x plus y, both of these are just variables. We know they're two distinct variables and there will be no constant term. So in this scenario, there will be no constant term. So we can kind of think of these 3 cases and apply them to see where we can find the constant term. So in the first scenario, we have x plus 4 to the power of 12. So let's go through this. So the simple way to think about it is think of the three cases. Which ones does it apply to? The first case is what we're looking at. So when y equals a constant, in our scenario, x plus 4 is a constant. So we want to find the final term. And we can find this easily by just taking 4 and taking the power of 12. So here the constant is 4 to the power of 12. And we can calculate that. But here essentially, so this is kind of a label of which term of 4. So it will be in the 12th term. So 12C12. So we would find this in the 12th term of the binomial expansion. And this is the answer for the first question. Similarly for x plus 3, so we do 3 to the power of 16. So you can see this is a similar process for these 2 questions. Okay, and these are all the examples that are provided. So if we had, let's say if we had x plus 6 to the power of 3, the constant term would just be 6 to the power of 3. Similarly, if we had another variable and stuff like that. So to keep the main thing to keep in mind for answering this question, find the constant term of the binomial, is firstly identifying what the format the binomial is in, and then using the 3 cases, case 1 where we have x plus c to the n, to evaluate the constant term, which will be found at the end of the binomial expansion. Case 2 where we'd have x plus c over x. So if you identify that you're given this situation, then we know the constant term is in the center, in the middle, and we find it by equating n minus 2k equals to 0. We get k equals n divided by 2. So it will be the middle term. And then finally, when it's x plus y, if it's given in this format and there's no constants, we know that there is no constant term. So depending on what format we're given, we can identify the constant term in a binomial expansion. So correct answer. Excellent work. Answer and explanation. And we'll mark this as correct.